The wedding invitation sits on my kitchen counter in Atlanta. Cream cardstock with gold lettering that probably cost more than my monthly car payment. Matthew Pearson and Claire Winters request the pleasure of your company. Kistikiga. I can't read the rest. Don't need to. The date's burned into my brain. June 15th. 6 months from now, the man I spent 3 years pushing away will marry someone who recognized his worth in 6 months. I pour another glass of wine, my third tonight, and stare at the RSVP card. Will attend. Will not attend. 2 simple boxes, but checking either feels impossible. How do you attend the wedding of someone you realize you love only after you've destroyed any chance of being with them? How do you not attend and live with the regret of missing your last chance to see them happy, even if that happiness has nothing to do with you? My phone buzzes. Text from my best friend Heather. Did you get it? Yeah. You okay? Why wouldn't I be? It's just a wedding. Natalie? I'm fine. Happy for him. She seems nice. All lies. I'm not fine. I'm not happy for him. And Claire isn't just nice, she's perfect. I've stalked her Instagram enough to know. Pediatric nurse, volunteers at animal shelters, has one of those laughs that makes everyone around her smile. The kind of woman who posts pictures of her and Matthew hiking, cooking together, doing all the things I said were boring when he suggested them. But I should start from the beginning, back when I had Matthew and didn't want him, when his love felt like a burden instead of the gift it was. When I was so busy chasing excitement that I couldn't see the adventure standing right in front of me. Matthew and I met at a mutual friend's birthday party in Decatur 4 years ago. I was 26, fresh out of a toxic relationship with a musician who thought monogamy was a suggestion and communication was optional. Matthew was 28, an architect who'd just moved from Nashville, still had boxes to unpack but came to the party anyway because he'd promised. I don't really know anyone here, he admitted, holding a beer he'd barely touched. Join the club. I only know Jessica and she's busy playing hostess. Matthew, he offered his hand, recent transplant from Tennessee. Natalie, lifelong Atlanta resident who still gets lost in her own city. He laughed, and I remember thinking he had kind eyes. Not sexy or mysterious or any of the adjectives I usually went for. Just kind. I should have paid more attention to that. We talked for 3 hours. About architecture, about my job in graphic design, about how he'd moved for a fresh start after his father died. He was easy to talk to in a way that should have been a green flag but felt boring compared to the emotional roller coaster I was used to. I should probably head out, he said eventually. Early site visit tomorrow, but this was really nice. Could I get your number? I gave it to him, expecting the usual game. Wait 3 days to text, play it cool, make me wonder if he was interested. Instead, he texted that night. Thanks for making my first Atlanta party memorable. Would you like to get coffee sometime this week? He seems sweet, Jessica said later, helping clean up. Different from your usual type. Too different. Did you see his shirt? Who wears a button-down to a house party? Someone who has his life together? Boring, I declared, already mentally writing him off. But I went for coffee anyway. And dinner the next week. And a movie the week after that. Matthew pursued me with a quiet persistence that I mistook for desperation. He remembered things I mentioned offhandedly, showed up when he said he would, treated me like I was worth something. After years of chasing men who treated me like an option, being someone's priority felt suffocating. I really like you, he said after our 5th date, walking me to my door. I just want to be clear about that. I'm not seeing anyone else and I'd like to see where this goes. That's fast, I said, taking a step back. We barely know each other. We've been talking for a month. I know you hate olives, but love olive oil. You're afraid of butterflies because one got stuck in your hair when you were 7. You call your mom every Sunday even though she drives you crazy. What else do I need to know? It's just, I'm not looking for anything serious right now. Okay, he said simply. What are you looking for? Fun, casual, no pressure. I can do casual, he lied. Matthew couldn't do casual any more than I could do committed. We dated for 3 years. I use that term loosely because what we really did was perform an elaborate dance where he tried to build something real and I systematically tore it down. He'd plan romantic dinners. I'd invite friends along to keep things light. He'd suggest weekend trips. I'd have sudden work emergencies. He'd say he loved me. I'd change the subject. "Why won't you let me love you?" he asked once, after I'd shot down his suggestion that I leave some things at his apartment. "You do love me, in your own way." "No, I love you in my way. You tolerate me in yours." "That's not fair." "Isn't it? We've been together 3 years, and you still introduce me as a friend. You won't spend the night. You panic if I mention the future. What are we doing, Natalie?" "Having fun." "Isn't that enough?" "Not for me." "Not anymore." But he stayed. That was Matthew's fatal flaw. He believed I'd eventually see what he saw, that underneath my commitment issues and walls, there was a woman worth waiting for. He was right, but I was too damaged to let her out. The beginning of the end came when his sister got married. He asked me to be his +1 months in advance, made it clear it was important to him. "It's in Nashville. We could drive up Friday, make a weekend of it. I'll show you all my old haunts." "Sounds fun," I said, having no intention of going. Meeting family was serious. Attending weddings together was serious. Weekend trips were serious. I didn't do serious. I bailed the day before, claimed a stomach bug that miraculously cleared up in time for me to go bar hopping with my single friends that Saturday, posted pictures on Instagram because I'm an idiot who forgot he followed me. "Nice to see you recovered so quickly," he texted. "It was just a 24-hour thing." Right, like the food poisoning that kept you from my company dinner, or the migraine that prevented you from meeting my mom when she visited. I'm starting to think I'm the thing making you sick. Don't be dramatic. I'm done being dramatic. I'm done, period. We need to talk. We met at a coffee shop, neutral ground. He looked tired, older somehow, like 3 years of pushing boulders uphill had finally worn him down. "I love you," he started, "but I can't do this anymore." "Do what?" "Pretend this is enough. Pretend I'm okay being held at arm's length. Pretend I don't know you're already halfway out the door." "I'm not." "You are. You've been leaving since the day we met. I just kept hoping I could give you a reason to stay." "This is because I missed the wedding?" "I was sick." "Stop." His voice was sharp in a way I'd never heard. "Just stop." "We both know you weren't sick. We both know you'll never meet my family or spend the night or call me your boyfriend without looking like you're swallowing glass. And that's okay. You are who you are, but I need to be with someone who wants to be with me." "I do want to be with you." "No, you want me to be available when you decide you want company." "That's not the same thing." He was right. Of course he was right. Matthew was always right about us, seeing clearly what I refused to acknowledge. I wanted him on my terms, within my limits. Never too close, but never too far. I wanted a relationship without vulnerability, love without risk, commitment without actually committing. "So what, you're breaking up with me?" "I'm setting us both free. You from the relationship you never wanted, and me from the hope that someday you would." He left money for both our coffees and walked out. No dramatic exit, no slamming doors. Just Matthew being Matthew. Considerate even in goodbye. I told myself I was relieved. Finally free from his expectations and needs and quiet disappointment. I threw myself into the single life I'd been half living anyway. Downloaded dating apps, went out every weekend, kissed strangers in bars who didn't care about my middle name or my favorite childhood memory. "You seem happy," Heather observed a month later, watching me swipe through Tinder. "I am. Best decision ever." Matthew was sweet, but we wanted different things. He wanted a relationship. What did you want? Not that, I said, swiping left on a guy who looked too much like Matthew. Stable, kind, emotionally available, everything I told myself I didn't need. For 6 months, I was fine, better than fine. I was exactly who I'd always insisted I was, independent, casual, allergic to anything resembling traditional romance. I dated a bartender who only texted after midnight, a photographer who disappeared for weeks at a time, a trainer who was clear he wasn't looking for anything exclusive, perfect situations for someone who didn't want to be tied down. Then I saw them. I was at Little 5 Points, shopping for vintage records because the bartender mentioned he collected them, and I was still in the trying to impress stage. They walked out of the coffee shop across the street, Matthew holding the door for a woman I'd never seen before. Tall, auburn hair, wearing scrubs like she'd just gotten off a shift. She said something that made him throw his head back and laugh. Really laugh, not the polite chuckle I usually got. My chest tightened in a way I didn't recognize. Jealousy? No, I didn't get jealous. I was the cool girl, the one who didn't care, the one who kept things casual. But I followed them. I'm not proud of it, but I trailed them for 3 blocks like some stalker, watching them walk with their shoulders touching, their steps synchronized. He bought her a flower from a street vendor, a single sunflower, and she tucked it behind her ear. Such a simple gesture, but she looked at him like he'd given her the moon. That's when it hit me. He used to buy me flowers, not expensive bouquets, just single stems from the farmer's market or wildflowers he'd pick on his runs. I'd always accepted them with mild embarrassment, wondering why he bothered with such outdated romantic gestures. Now I watched another woman treasure what I'd dismissed, and something inside me cracked. "You okay?" the bartender asked that night when I showed up at his apartment. "You seem off." "I'm fine. Are we doing this or not?" But I wasn't fine. For the first time in my life, casual sex felt empty instead of empowering. I left before he fell asleep, drove home wondering why I felt lonelier than when I'd arrived. I started seeing them everywhere. Atlanta's a big city, but apparently not big enough. They showed up in my Instagram feed, tagged at restaurants I'd refused to try with Matthew because they were too fancy, posted on Facebook at concerts he'd wanted to take me to, shared locations at museums, hiking trails, all the places he'd suggested that I'd shot down as boring. "That's his new girlfriend," Jessica informed me at brunch, catching me staring at Claire's profile. "Claire something. She's a pediatric nurse at Children's Healthcare." "Good for him," I said, shoving my phone away. "They seem happy. Met through his running club, I think. She did the marathon with him last month." The marathon. Matthew had been training for it when we dated, asked if I wanted to join him. I'd laughed. Running 26.2 miles for fun sounded like torture. But there was Claire at the finish line, medal around her neck, Matthew lifting her off her feet in celebration. "You sure you're okay?" Jessica pressed. "You look like you're going to cry." "Why would I cry? I broke up with him. He broke up with you." "Same difference. I wanted it to end." "Did you, though?" I didn't answer because the truth was starting to surface, ugly and undeniable. I hadn't wanted it to end. I'd wanted it to continue exactly as it was. Matthew orbiting my life, available when needed, never demanding more than I was willing to give. I'd wanted to keep him in stasis while I figured out if I was capable of loving him back. Turns out I was. I just needed to lose him first. The realization consumed me. Suddenly, every memory with Matthew took on new significance. The way he'd made me soup when I was sick, driving across town in traffic because I'd mentioned craving my grandmother's recipe. How he'd fixed my leaky faucet without being asked, showing up with tools and that quiet competence I'd taken for granted. The notes he'd leave on my car, silly drawings and bad puns that I'd roll my eyes at but secretly saved. I'd loved him the whole time. Loved him and been too scared, too stupid, too convinced that love meant losing myself to recognize it. Now he was building with Claire what I'd refused to build with him, and I had no one to blame but myself. I think I made a mistake, I told Heather one night, several wines deep. With what? Matthew. I think I loved him. You think? I know I loved him, love him present tense, and I ruined it because I'm an emotional coward who can't handle intimacy. Have you told him? He's dating someone else. Someone better than me. Someone who appreciates him. So you're just going to pine from afar? What else can I do? Show up at his door and declare my love 6 months too late? Hey Matthew, I know I spent 3 years pushing you away, but watching you be happy with someone else made me realize I'm selfish and awful? That'll go over well. But I couldn't let it go. I started driving by his apartment, not to see him, but to torture myself with evidence of his new life. Claire's car in the visitor spot, flowers on his balcony. He'd never had plants before. A doormat that said "Home Sweet Home" that screamed her influence. I downloaded running apps thinking maybe I'd accidentally run into them at the park. Spent money I didn't have on running shoes and athletic wear, pretending I'd suddenly discovered a love for fitness. Made it half a mile before giving up, sitting on a bench crying because I couldn't even run toward him properly. This is unhealthy, my therapist said when I finally admitted what was happening. You're grieving a relationship you never fully participated in. But I want to participate now. Doesn't that count for something? Growth counts. Recognition counts. But Matthew has moved on. You need to respect that. What if he hasn't really moved on? What if he's just settling? Based on what you've told me, Matthew doesn't settle. He knows what he wants. With you, he wanted more than you could give. With Claire, it seems he's found someone who wants the same things. So I just have to live with this? Knowing I threw away the best thing that ever happened to me? You have to live with your choices, yes, but you can also learn from them. Be different next time. Next time, as if there would ever be another Matthew, another man who'd see through my walls and love me anyway, who'd wait 3 years for me to catch up to what he already knew. I'd found my person and shoved him towards someone else. The engagement announcement came through Facebook on a random Tuesday. I was at work, designing a logo for a client who couldn't decide what they wanted, when the notification popped up. Matthew Pearson is engaged to Claire Winters. The photo was perfect. Sunset on the beach, Claire's hand showing off a ring that was elegant and simple. Exactly what I would have wanted if I'd ever let myself want such things. Matthew looked happier than I'd ever seen him, including in our photos together. Maybe because with Claire he wasn't trying so hard. Didn't have to convince her to love him back. 247 likes in the first hour. Comments flooding in. Perfect couple. About time. She's the one who was worth waiting for. That last comment from Matthew's sister, the same sister whose wedding I'd skipped, felt pointed. She'd never liked me, saw through my commitment issues before Matthew did. Now she had Claire, someone who showed up, who said yes to family dinners and holiday traditions and all the things that build a life together. I screenshot the announcement before I could stop myself. Spent my lunch break zooming in on their faces, looking for cracks in the happiness. Found none. They looked like what they were. 2 people who'd found their person. 2 people who weren't afraid of forever. Working hard? My coworker Ben asked, catching me staring at my phone. Just taking a break. Is that the ex you mentioned? The architect? Yeah. She's pretty. She's perfect, I corrected, and the bitterness in my voice made him take a half step back, his own smile faltering. You okay? Why does everyone keep asking me that? I'm fine, my ex is marrying someone else. People do that. They move on. They find someone better. They dash. I stopped because I was crying, at work, over a Facebook post. Ben awkwardly handed me a tissue and retreated to his desk, probably making a mental note to never ask about my personal life again. I left work early, claiming a migraine that wasn't entirely a lie. Went home and did what I should have done months ago, really looked at our relationship. Scrolled through 3 years of photos where I'm always slightly turned away, creating distance even in captured moments. Read old texts where he's trying to make plans and I'm making excuses. Watched videos where he's looking at me with love and I'm looking anywhere else. I wasted it, I said out loud to my empty apartment. I wasted him. The wedding invitation arrived 2 weeks later. Of course I was invited. Matthew was too polite to exclude me, even after everything. Or maybe Claire was secure enough not to see me as a threat. Why would she? I'd had 3 years to claim him and spent them running in the opposite direction. Which brings me back to now. To this RSVP card and my 4th glass of wine, and the knowledge that in 6 months, the man I love will promise forever to someone else. Someone who knew immediately what took me too long to figure out, that Matthew Pearson is the kind of man you hold on to with both hands. My phone rings. Unknown number, but I answer anyway. Natalie! It's Matthew. My heart stops. His voice still does that to me, apparently. Hi, I manage. I wanted to make sure you got the invitation. And to say that I'd really like you to be there, if you're comfortable with that. Of course. I wouldn't miss it. Good. That's good. Claire wanted me to tell you that you're welcome to bring a +1, if you're seeing someone. I'm not, I say too quickly. Seeing anyone, I mean. Oh, okay. Well, the invitation stands either way. Silence stretches between us, filled with everything I want to say and can't. I love you. I'm sorry. I see now what you saw then. Choose me instead. Claire seems wonderful, I force out instead. She is, he says simply, and the contentment in his voice breaks my heart. She really is. I'm happy for you, I lie. Thank you. That means a lot. He pauses. You know, Natalie, I hope you find what you're looking for, whatever that is. I had it, I whisper. But he's already saying goodbye, already moving forward while I'm stuck in the past I was too afraid to claim as my own. I stare at the RSVP card. Will attend, will not attend. Such simple boxes for such a complicated situation. I check will attend before I can change my mind. I'll go. I'll watch him marry her. I'll smile and clap and pretend my heart isn't shattering. It's the least I can do for the man who loved me better than I loved myself. Maybe that's my penance. To witness the life I could have had if I'd been brave enough to let myself be loved. To see Matthew give Claire everything I was too frightened to accept, his whole heart without conditions or reservations or escape routes. I mail the card before I lose my nerve. 6 months. 6 months to prepare for the worst, best day of my life. 6 months to practice being happy for the happiness I threw away. The therapist says this is growth, recognizing what I had, accepting responsibility for losing it, learning to live with regret. But it doesn't feel like growth. It feels like drowning in slow motion, knowing I'm the one who jumped off the boat. I pour the rest of the wine down the sink and go to bed. Dream of Matthew, of course. Always dream of Matthew now. In them, I'm brave. In them, I say yes to staying the night, to meeting his family, to building a life together. In them, I'm the one in the wedding dress, promising him forever and meaning it. But dreams aren't reality. Reality is RSVP cards and engagement photos, and the knowledge that some mistakes can't be undone. Reality is learning to love someone just in time to watch them love someone else. Reality is being the cautionary tale in your own story, the woman who had everything and recognized it too late. I only realized I loved him when he dated someone else, and now I have to live with that timing for the rest of my life.